Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of I'm Here for the Soul podcast. Really excited about this one because this is the first returning guest. In season 1, I spoke with Katrina Fouracre, and we talked about business, motherhood, moving to a different city, switching gears. And we are back today to catch up with Katrina and find out everything that she has going on. We're going to talk about juggling business alongside personal life and how Katrina finds that perfect balance. So let's give a warm welcome to Katrina. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I am good, thank you. So we last spoke in 2021. Wow, that is a long time.
I know it doesn't really seem that long ago.
It doesn't, like, it's crazy. If someone had asked me, I'd be like, yeah, I spoke with her last year, but it's actually
Yeah.
been 3 years.
That is absolutely wild. Yeah, it just shows how quickly time passes without you even realizing it.
100%. And already I feel like this year is just like flying by as well. It's
Yeah, way too
crazy.
quickly.
It's
Way too
crazy.
quickly.
So, what would you say to the woman that you were back in 2021 if you had a message for her?
Oh, um, I think for me it would be patient. Things will start to work out. I think back in 2021, I think back then everybody was feeling really uncertain and even considering how the world was with COVID and lockdowns and everything. And we didn't really know what the future held for any of us, especially like as business owners. And I think we all kind of felt like we needed to move quickly because things were changing so quickly all the time. So for me personally, I think it was, being patient with my business and, taking the time to work things out and see how things pan out. And then for me personally as well, things have changed over those years. My daughter started school. I've had to deal with a lot of personal challenges with my anxiety and mental health. So yeah, it's taken like a lot of patience and a lot of work, but it always it's working out and it's getting there. So I think for me it's just kind of like to be patient and just to things will pan out, hopefully.
Yeah. And I like the fact that you mentioned something important there. You spoke about like your mental health and
Mm.
anxiety. It's so crazy because we often ask each other like, "How are you?" And everybody's response is always automatically like, "Yes, I'm good." Um,
Yeah.
and I really wanted to sort of tap into the spiritual side of people on this year's podcast, and that's just mainly because I just feel like um we have to keep our spirits aligned in order to achieve other areas in our life. And that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to like tap into that side of things. So in terms of like mental health check, how do you feel like you've been this year so far? Like how do you feel like you have been able to navigate through tough situations?
This year definitely has been tough. It's been tough in like lots of different ways. So before we've had a lot of my anxiety is around emetophobia, which is a fear of sickness for anyone who doesn't know. And I've had a lot of challenges, with a daughter starting school and emetophobia tend not to mix that well. And so I've had to, face a lot of challenges and in that respect and kind of dealing with actually a school environment and having to go into a school environment and my daughter going into a school environment every day. That's been one challenge. I've had challenges of illnesses with my daughter, thankfully not sickness, but it's lots of different health issues with her that we've had to navigate. And then obviously that's put a challenge like on my personal life, my business life as well. But this year has been slightly different in terms it was a bit of a rocky start to the year for me. Lots of things going on in the business and personal life as well that I've had to navigate. And for me, it's always about communication, like either with my clients who I'm dealing with and saying, this is what's going on. Either something's going to take longer or something needs to move forward so that I can actually get things done for you. But also communication, like with my husband as well. We talk about things, and that helps me to kind of keep in check with my mental health. So if I'm struggling with something, I talk to him about it. And also therapy as well is also like another big thing that I advocate for. And it's not something that people should feel ashamed of having, because it's the one thing that's really helped me to move forward with it, with my mental health. Um, so I do think communication is like such a big thing when it comes to mental health. And I know there's like this big thing, it's like, oh, reach out to people, and it's not always easy to reach out to people, because you don't want to burden people like with your problems, and everybody's got their own stuff going on. But if you have someone, whether it's a partner or a therapist, that you can speak to about things, I think that really does help.
Yeah. So what has your experience been like with therapy? Because I know a lot of people are talking more about therapy, but I imagine that there's still people that are a little bit skeptical about having
Mm.
to put their personal life out there. So what has been your experience with therapy so far? And like what sort of advice would you give to someone that's considering going into therapy?
Yeah, so it took me a while to find the right therapist for me. So I needed to find somebody very specific to emetophobia. It's quite like a complex anxiety and phobia. It can't, for me, it can't be treated as like a generalized anxiety. So I went through like various different therapists, local and online, hypnotherapy, lots of like different things that just didn't really work. And then I eventually actually got diagnosed by a private consultant, who then recommended a therapist online, and she deals specifically with emetophobia. And that just, it changed everything for me, because it was somebody who really got the complexities of emetophobia, what it was about, where it's coming from or where it's not coming from. And we really sort of like delve into lots of different things, and we try different techniques. And because it's online, it helps me as well, because I really struggle with face-to-face stuff. So being online kind of, that takes that away for me as well. Um, I suppose for me personally, uh, I don't really have too much of an issue sharing my life with my therapist, because I do hold back sometimes a little bit, but she does obviously push you to kind of like to really share, because that's the way that they can help you. Because for me, I know that if I don't share it, then I'm not going to get better. And for me, getting better is way more important than kind of sharing my, deepest thoughts and things with somebody I don't really know. And but that does help initially, that they don't really know you as such. They don't. There's no judgment there with therapists. They're doing a job, and they understand that everybody's different, and everybody has different stories to tell, and they see things in different ways. And I've never ever felt judged, or thinking that I'm in the wrong. They're there to help and support you. So it can be daunting, it can be hard when you first start. So I think my recommendations would be to find someone who gets you, and don't feel disheartened if at first you don't find that person. You might not get the right person straight away. It is a process. um and if you don't feel comfortable, if you don't feel right, you'll know. So keep looking and keep finding that person, and kind of persevere with it. And then just kind of really embrace, the therapy, and take advantage of that opportunity to talk to somebody who gets it and understands and is there to help you, and isn't there to judge you. So I would definitely recommend therapy to anyone who needs it.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I think it's a lot of points that you mentioned there. You mentioned that you obviously had a specific phobia.
Mm.
Can I just clarify what that is? Is it that you have a fear of falling ill, or is it actually people being physically sick that you have
For
a fear of?
me, it's everything. It's a phobia of being sick. It's a phobia of people being sick around me. I can deal with it better slightly if I know it's, people being sick and it's not something that I can catch, because then I don't have like that extra worry. But for me, it's just I really struggle with people being sick around me, even if it's not something I can catch. I find it really hard for me. It's like somebody's really hurting someone that I love, especially if it's someone
Mm.
that it's close, and I know it's kind of like a normal like bodily function that everybody does, and it goes beyond like I don't like it. It really affects me in a really negative way, and I've had it all my life, and it wasn't until my daughter was born that it really negatively impacted my life. Like I kind of dealt with it. It was only if I was ever sick or someone was sick around me, which wasn't very often. And even then, I would kind of like it would be like a panic at that time, and then I would move on, and it would be fine, and I would carry on with my life. I wasn't restricted of where I would go or what I would eat. I would, travel. I would go on public transport. I would always go and see people. I had no issues with like shaking hands or using public toilets. You would never ever know. And then my daughter was born, and it like completely changed everything. I think it might have been like the overwhelming responsibility that comes with being a mum. I definitely had postpartum depression. I think that there's a bit of PTSD from childbirth as well. There's lots of things that I think contributed to it, and since then it's been a battle to kind of overcome it. And I'm not 100% sure I'm ever going to get back to how I was before I had my daughter. I don't know. It's something that I've got to continuously work on. But I'm better than what I was, but I've still got like a long way to go.
Yeah. I think that was really great how you went into details. Thank you so much for explaining that as well. For me, I just feel like it's educational for all of us, for
Yeah.
myself and for people listening as well. And there could be somebody listening right now that's thinking, oh, I identify with some of the things that she was saying, and it could prompt
Yeah.
somebody to go and get a diagnosis. So that was really great. So thank you for sharing that.
Okay.
Um, I feel like a lot of what you spoke about, so I'm viewing this year as like a year to heal,
Yeah.
but I feel like healing is one of those things where it is never ending. And that
Yeah.
same mindset could be applied to other areas of people's lives. So, like people that may have like phobias or ongoing illnesses, anything like that. It could be that you may have to deal with it for a lifetime, but it's how you approach it. And I feel like that's a lot of things in life, that it's all about how we, proceed next. So I definitely feel like you would possibly be able to overcome in the best way that you can, with the proper, support. And it sounds like you're already doing that as well with the therapy element.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I do. It is like an ongoing process. I don't think, especially when any kind of health, whether it's physical or mental, I don't think there's ever really like an end point to it, because you whether or not you are cured from a physical illness, even a mental illness, you still have that experience behind you, and you still have that to deal with. And I think it, like you said, it is like an ongoing process, and probably forever. And I think I think people need to realize that as well, that like it's never sort of like you're going to get to a point and, oh, that's it, I don't need to do anything else. It is like ongoing, whether it's health, business, life, anything.
Yeah.
It is always an ongoing thing.
Yeah, 100%. I 100% agree with you. And it's quite funny because on those days that I don't really feel like working out, they're the days where I'm like, okay, so now you have to.
Yeah.
Now you
Yeah,
have to.
definitely.
Because what we don't want to do is we don't want to pacify ourselves so much that a year goes by. I mean, imagine if like months and a year passes by and you have just like basically done everything the easy way because you've given yourself permission to quit. And
Yeah.
it's our jobs to kind of gently push ourselves forward. And when I say gently push ourselves forward, I mean like if you feel like, oh my gosh, I don't really feel like working out today, it could be your period cycle, you maybe didn't get a lot of sleep last night. My mindset is, well, just pick an easy workout then, because an
Mhm.
easy workout is better than just skipping it completely.
Yeah.
Um, Even incorporating a rest day as well, so that every Wednesday I get to enjoy just giving my body a rest, gives you something to look forward to, and then when it's not Wednesday, you think, okay, I gotta get up.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of using that as an example because that mindset could be used for anything, really. If you feel
Yeah.
like you want to stay inside because you don't really want to go out, there are times that we really need to go for a walk for most.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I definitely agree with, in that definitely applies to, my emetophobia as well. There are days where I don't want to go and do something, like I don't want to go out for a meal. So it'll be, these are things that like I'm doing now. Like before, I wouldn't go out for meals, I wouldn't go to the shop, I wouldn't do anything like that, I wouldn't touch anything. And now I can go out for meals. Yes, it's stressful, and yes, I'm always like, I don't want to go because what if, the food isn't cooked, or what if we get ill, or whatever it is. But I always feel better
Mm.
after I've done it. Maybe not immediately afterwards, because I still have like the anxiety and things like
Yeah.
that. But once I've done it, and that initial anxiety has passed, and
Mm.
I'm like, oh, I'm really glad that I done it, because it's like another thing that I feel like I've won that battle, because it is a battle, like with mental health, it is a battle with your brain, and your brain is telling you, no, you can't do this, no, that's dangerous, no, that's, you're making the wrong decision. But at the same time, like, I want to live my life. I want to enjoy times with my family. I want to enjoy times with my daughter. I want to show my daughter the world and show that it's not a scary place, even though my mind tells me it's
Mm.
a scary place. But I need to show her that, even if you are worried, that you can still do things. And like you said, it applies to everything, whether it's, like working out, or doing something that scares you, or even in business, like you thinking that, oh, I need to be more active on social media, or I need to work on my website, or I need, and but that's really scary. But actually, if you just, do something, like you said, do something is better than nothing, because if you leave it, you fall into that cycle of, oh, well, I haven't posted on social media, or I haven't been out in like 2 weeks. So it's just easier for me to stay in, or it's just easier for me to not do a workout, and because I haven't done it for so long. And I definitely agree that you do have to push yourself, even if it's just like the smallest bit, and it's maybe not as much as you think you wanted to do it, but
Mm.
just that little bit will always like edge you forward. And I think that's really, really important in every
Yeah.
aspect of life.
100%. A lot of the times as well, the things that don't feel so good are actually really good for us.
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
like
definitely.
there's not many people that wake up and go, "Oh, I can't wait to eat really healthy today and have no chocolate." But then when people do it, they look and they feel good, and
Yeah.
not many people think, "Oh, I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. today and get lots of things done." It's like, but then when they do it,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still yet to do it. So if somebody
Oh
does
yeah,
that,
no,
let me
no,
know.
I'm not. I haven't joined the 5 a.m. I get woken up at 6 o'clock, and that's literally it. I'm not doing anymore.
And for me, I really just struggle going to bed early. Like,
Yeah.
I need to start. I want to come on the show one day and be like, okay, guys, I went to bed at 9:30 last night. But yeah, I'm working on it though, working on it. I feel like the main thing is just, I was speaking to my mum the other day actually, and I was like, if I could just get myself, into bed earlier, I actually feel like my routine will be perfect
Yeah.
because I've managed to be quite strict with everything else. I feel like I've got a little bit of a schedule going, and it's just that going to bed earlier
Yeah.
it's just that's that one thing, and it's bugging me. And I do tend to wake up early because I need to. I've got to do the school run and stuff.
Yeah,
But I want to get up even earlier so that I'm able to actually have a really slow morning routine and be able to get
yeah,
some things done in the morning without having to rush around.
yeah. I know what you mean. I think for me, it's like after I put my daughter to bed, I'm like, it's like that choice between, do you go to bed early and try and get some sleep, or do you have like that time to yourself where they're in
Mm,
bed and you can do something. And for me, it's that battle, and I'm always like, oh, but this is like the one time that like I'm not needed. Like I know she's safe, she's happy, she's asleep. Like she's not in school. I don't have to worry about her in school. She's not running around. She doesn't need me. Like nobody needs me right now. So I can just like relax. And it's
mm.
like that one time of the day that you get that. And so you end up staying. And I think like the other night it was like 1:30 in the morning. And I was like, I should really go to sleep now because I'm gonna be woken up soon.
Yeah. I've also stayed up past midnight, and I'm so glad that you said that because I felt like I was the only parent on the planet that does that. Because everybody else I speak to, whether they have kids or not, everybody else seems to be like, "Oh yeah, I'm in bed by 10." So here's me
No.
like, I'm like, nobody else stays up past midnight in the weekday.
Uh, no, I'm still sort of like scrolling on TikTok at 1:30 in the morning. I'm just like, right, I really need to go to bed and go to sleep now
Yeah,
because like I've had enough. Because I will regret it in the morning, and I'll be like, why didn't I go to sleep earlier? But it is that just thing of like you're trying to grab that time
mm,
that you don't really have anymore. Like when when you've got children, or even if you don't have children and you've kind of got things going on in your life, and like that time where you can grab, where it's nobody needs you,
yeah.
um and you really want to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I know that feeling. And sometimes I feel like by the time I've just tidied up, like, when I wash the pots and clean the kitchen, I look at the
Yeah.
time and I'm like, okay, it's 10 o'clock now. Do I have a really nice, relaxing bubble bath that I know I'm going to stay in for an hour? Or do I just jump into bed? But I don't want to just jump into bed. I want to like relax. I don't want to just like have a quick shower and rush around. I want to,
No.
you know what I mean? I want to go in the bath and I want to relax and I want to go on my phone and thinking about what I want to read a book and whatever. And I'm like, okay, for this to work, my bedtime routine needs to be starting from like 7 o'clock. In order to,
No.
do you know what I mean? In order to have like a really slow, because what I've learned recently is that in order to have a good night routine, it has to actually be slow.
Yeah.
Because one of the reasons why people struggle to sleep is because they jump into bed and they fall asleep straight away.
Yeah.
And I was actually listening to a podcast recently, and the host had a guest on, and the guest was basically saying, sorry, I can't remember the names. I'm always quoting something from another podcast. But but yeah, so basically he was saying that like you have to sort of give yourself time to like wind down. So, if you want to like read a book and stuff, do that, do things that you enjoy to do a little bit of meditation and then get into bed. But in order for all of this to be done in a decent time frame, you've almost got to start from like 8 p.m. so that you can have
Yeah.
a really slow. Otherwise, you're going to be like rushing. You're going to be thinking, "Oh my god, I'm meditating," but it's 11 o'clock at night.
I
It's like,
know. It's weird, isn't it? Like we do like a bedtime routine for children, because it's kind of like, they say like, oh,
yeah,
give them the dinner, and then like you give them a bath, and then you like
yeah,
wind them down and like get them relaxed and everything. And then you kind of do that. And then it all kind of like falls to pot once they've gone to sleep, because you're just like, right, okay, now I need to do this, I need to do this. And it all kind of like, and you just think you should need to be able to
yeah,
put the same practice in for yourself as you do with children when they go to bed. I mean, obviously, like as they get older, that bedtime
yeah,
routine is out the window, and you're chasing them around trying to get them to bed at 8 o'clock at night,
yeah.
which is where I'm at the moment. And I'm just like, get to bed because you need to go to sleep. But
Mm,
it is that thing of just trying to, I think it's possibly trying to find that time of putting yourself first. And I do think there's like a lot of expectations as well for like people to do certain things and to do them, the way that you see it like on social media, like especially on TikTok. I'm like a sucker for watching like these bedtime routines or these morning routines where everybody's like doing their skincare routine, and like
mm,
at night time, and then in the morning it's like a slow morning with coffees and journals and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, I'm rushing around in the morning trying to get a 6 year old like to school on time. But I
yeah,
also think it's kind of allowing us to kind of drop certain things that we don't need to do to be able to do the things that we want to do.
Mm.
Um, and I think that is like part of like unlearning lots of things that we get told, oh, you should do this and you should do this, you should do this for your children, you should do this. And then you're just like, okay, but I have no time to do the things that I need to do for myself to be like a good mum or a good business
Mm.
owner, or, whatever it is. And yeah, so I think there is, it's that balance between what you think you should do and actually what you need to do just for you, even if it's not the same as everybody else.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think I know that a lot of people have a love-hate relationship with content creators on YouTube. You know,
Yeah.
those people that do the morning routines and stuff. But I actually find them to be quite helpful because if you just wanted to gain a little bit of inspiration,
Yeah.
it can be quite good for that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I would also say that like you have to kind of proceed with caution because I do definitely believe that a lot of people they'll post it's content. So they'll
Yeah.
probably post this like really perfect video, but
Yeah.
then on an average day, they're actually rolling out of bed at 10 a.m. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they didn't make it to the
Yeah.
gym. You know what I mean? Like
No.
they've jumped
They
straight onto
spill
their
their
phone.
coffee everywhere. The kitchen is not clean. They did not
Yep.
clean it the night before.
Yep. They spent an hour scrolling on TikTok and they didn't do anything that they wanted to do that day. We just sat on the settee. And
Yeah.
I feel like people just need to like be a little bit easier with themselves and like not
Yeah.
be I think people like our age group, like we probably understand that, but it's probably more
Yeah.
like younger people that see these like
Yeah.
perfect routines and are like, oh, why can't I have a routine like that? And
I
it's
know,
like,
and it's like it's not that, like it's not the same every
yeah,
single day. Yeah, it might be like once a week that you get like the nice morning routine, but majority of the time, like you said, it's people
yeah,
rolling out of bed late, they've overslept, they haven't cleaned their kitchen, they haven't, their washing is everywhere.
mm,
It's like everybody, this unperfect life is so much more common than what
mm,
social media would make you believe. Um, but I think, it's for me, I use it as like an escapism. Like you said, it's a nice thing to watch. Like it's quite calming, it's quite soothing, and like you said, you can take inspiration,
mhm,
from people. And but I think it's understanding that it's created and curated content to look good,
mm,
like a lot of things, like your own social media, and like when you put makeup on, or like when you do your website, you do it in a certain way to make it look nice and
mm,
appealing.
mhm.
um but it's not always the truth. Like I don't look like this underneath my makeup. Like makeup is, definitely not. So it's just one of those things that you kind of have, like you said, like our generation, I think we understand the difference between
Mm,
social media and reality because we've kind of lived without social media as well.
mhm.
But I do think, like the younger generation understand, who've literally lived their lives on social media, um, and understanding that actually, like reality is actually more common than you think.
Yeah. I just want to say, by the way, I refuse to believe that you look terrible underneath your makeup because
I know I do.
no, but you have really nice facial features and they're things that like can't be made with makeup. So
No.
but yeah, I just wanted to say as well, so for listeners who haven't heard of you before, would you want to give a bit more about your background story and sort of explain more about like where you come from, what your background is? I know sometimes people do this stuff at the start, but I actually quite like just, starting with a chat.
Yeah.
People are invested now. They want to
Yeah.
know who you are.
Yeah, they're invested.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously my name is Katrina. I am a business owner. So I am a WordPress website designer. So I help online business owners and small business owners with their websites and their SEO, and just like demystifying a lot of stuff. There's a lot of BS everywhere about websites, and I see it all the time. So I try to sort of like help people to understand it, simplify it for people. I am married. I have a daughter. I live in South Wales, and I am half Mauritian as well. So my mum comes from Mauritius. My dad is English and Welsh. And I definitely feel the the need for sun that like literally runs through my veins, because winter is just not the one for me in this
Yeah.
country at all. And as soon as like the sun comes out, like even like today, I'm just like on the school run, I'm like in a dress and trainers and things like that, and everybody's still in like their coats. So I'm like, no, the sun has come out. We need to embrace this. I ditch the coats. I don't care if I'm cold. I need to like
Mm,
embrace the sun. So that is like, and I, the sun is like my happy place, and the beach is like my happy place. And it like helps with my mental health as well. And
mm,
obviously, as we talked about as well, like I suffer with emetophobia, and it is an ongoing battle, but I am slowly getting there. But my business definitely helps because it kind of brings like a sense of like normality and like talking to people and helping people and problem solving. I think I mentioned this. I wrote a blog years ago, and how my business actually helped with my mental health, and how I found problem solving much easier for me to kind of help with my mental health, because
mm,
like with all mental health and anxiety, and especially emetophobia, you often are looking for problems and looking for, for dangers and things like that, whereas with my job with websites, I'm often fixing the problems, which is kind of it's quite healing in itself, even though it's not necessarily the same problems that I'm having in my personal life, but it really does help. And so that's why I really throw myself into business, especially when my mental health is not great. It really needs like that work to be able to distract my brain and focus on fixing issues for other people, and that really does help.
mm. That's amazing. I love how you mentioned as well about the sun, because one of the first things that I do in the morning is like literally open up the curtains. That I've got like quite big bay windows, so it's just like lets that sunlight
Yeah,
in, and it does it. It instantly just boosts you. It wakes your body
yeah,
up. Your body knows that it's ready to start the day. So I
yeah.
think that's amazing. So, are you still doing the exact same work that you're doing since we last spoke, or has anything changed slightly?
Probably changed slightly. So obviously everything is still very much online. I have packages where I design websites to people. I can do like the full package from design and copywriting and the graphics and things like that. If there's lots of different elements that of web design that you don't like doing, you can outsource it, and that can be taken care of. I now offer a website in a day, which is basically what it says on the tin. I can design a website in a day for you. So it is a more affordable way to get a website. So it's like 7 pages, and we just put all like the information that you need on your website. It can either get you started with a website and it's for you to build out, or it's something that will, like your starting blocks with your website. So websites can be like a big investment in time and also financially as well. So my website in a day just helps people to kind of get on, that first step on the ladder, so to speak, of websites for your business. And that's proved really, really popular. And I really, really enjoy doing it as well, because it's kind of like it just put the pressure on me to kind of get the website done in a day. But I just love like seeing the outcome from like the morning when I start where there's nothing, and then the end of the day where there's like a full blown website ready for the client. So that's been really helpful for people. And again, like consultations, there's lots of like new things coming up as well. Like I've had like a bit of a rebrand, which I haven't announced yet. But there is like a bit of a rebrand, and I've definitely taken my love for the sunshine and my I suppose like my Mauritian roots, where it's the beach and everything like that, and I've kind of taken that as like part of my rebrand. And there's going to be like new bits coming out as well to help people from all different stages, from DIY to kind of needing like a bit of help, to full blown, I don't want to deal with this. You like take it off my hands and I'll do it. So there's
Mm.
something for everyone. So I'm looking forward to doing and releasing all of these new bits of services as well.
Yeah, I like the fact that you mentioned like your roots sort of playing a part in your business. So for those listening, we do talk more about Katrina's mixed background in our first interview. So I won't ask you to like repeat, your childhood experiences again.
Mm,
I do remember you sort of saying that like you weren't really aware that you was different until other children,
mm,
started to point it out and stuff. But what I've realized, as a woman who is like, doing a podcast, also like writing and stuff, like working on a book, I've realized that everything that I am impacts not only the way how I view the world, but how I also put out projects as well.
Mm.
And I feel like that's a really good advice to sort of give to people to kind of incorporate who they are into their work, because that's what makes us unique, you
Yeah,
know?
definitely. I think for me, I've been in business for like 10 years, and I've often fallen into this trap of like following the trends, because that's, people say, oh, do this because that's what, the popular people are doing online, or that's what they're doing in business. And I've never really like embraced me and like who I am. And I've kind of like, even down to sort of like the colors in my branding and stuff like that. And I'm just like, yes, okay, like it's nice and I like it, but it wasn't really like me. And I'm just like, but I love the sunshine, I love the summer, I love the beach, and I love like, all of like this kind of stuff. And that's like what makes me happy.
Mm.
And the whole point of my business is to make my clients feel happy, and to like their website is like their happy place. So it kind of like made sense for me to kind of embrace who I am, and what makes me happy, so that I can give that to, because if I'm not in my happy place, I can't make other people feel happy either. So
Mm.
it kind of made sense, and I mean, it took me 10 years to get there. I got there in the end.
Yeah. So obviously it's important to sort of learn how to juggle our personal life alongside our professional life. So how do you find that balance?
um I don't think you ever really get like the perfect balance, because I think, especially when you're running a business, um, that you're basically like on call all the time. As much as you kind of like say, oh, like I'm switching off, or like that's not my working hours, you are always it's always like there. For me, like I'm really lucky, like my husband is also self-employed, and we share like a lot of the things. So he does cooking and washing, and all like the house, like lots of things in the house. We do school run. So I'm really lucky that like not everything just falls on me. But there's all, I think trying to like say that you have like the perfect work-life balance is hard in itself, because I just don't think it exists. I think sometimes you need to put more time into work, and sometimes you have to put more time into home, and something always has to give. Like it's never like that perfect balance. But I think as long as like you can, I think it's trying to sort of like accept that that's what's going to happen, and then you just deal with it as you do. And like recently I've had lots of things going on in my personal life. Like my dad hasn't been very well, and that meant that work really did have to kind of like take a back seat, and even home life had to take a back seat, because I had to be at the hospital, and help him and help my mum. But my husband stepped up to like look after our daughter, and kind of be there. And like now my dad's back home and he's doing much better. Now I've kind of like stepped back into home, stepped back into business, and that's just how it works. I think it's just like a cycle of knowing where you have to put your time, and sometimes it's not in the places that you want it to put, but it's just how life is.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to say I think it's great that your dad is doing better now.
Yeah.
Um, no, that's really good to hear. And I also just want to say as well that like you've just described something that like not a lot of people talk about, which is the curveball of life.
Yeah.
I feel like ebbs and flows are so inevitable, but I feel like inevitable. Did I say that? Inevitable. I was like, did I say that right? Inevitable. Yeah, I feel like you can't really avoid it.
No.
Um, but for some reason, it doesn't really get discussed a lot. Like,
No.
when you listen to these, like, especially these like men online, where they're like, you gotta get up every day, 5
Oh, I
a.m.,
know.
eat your protein, drink your protein, go to the gym, and then you got to look after your family, and these like really aggressive. Oh my God, I feel like I've just like made fun of, you know what? I do like listening to podcasts with male hosts because I
Mm.
love to hear a variety of
Yeah.
voices, opinions. So that's not to make me sound like a man basher, but I just thought that's a really good like I'm not bashing men, but I feel like that's just like a really good example of like how people can like really make people feel that we are almost like robots,
Yeah.
and we are just not robots. And
No.
not to mention the people that may have something ongoing where they physically or mentally are not even able to show up for themselves for whatever reason. And that
Yeah.
never gets brought into the conversation either. But even the average person who has, you know, pretty much like average mental health and they can kind of do stuff, even they will get hit from time to time.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's important to kind of like acknowledge that and to kind of adjust your schedule for
Yeah.
that.
I
Um,
think, yeah, I think it's, like you said, there is a lot of this, oh, you need to be doing this every day, you need to do this every day. And I'm just like, well, I can't do that every
yeah,
day.
yeah,
I've got like so many different things going on in my life and in
yeah,
my business that just doesn't allow me to do that. Like I can't get up at 5 a.m. every morning because I just physically can't get up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
yeah.
I don't like protein shakes. I don't like them. I'm not going to drink them. And saying like, oh, you've got to get up and go to gym. Well, my mental health doesn't allow me to kind of go to the gym and do those things. Like, yes, it possibly could help me, but for my emetophobia, like going to the gym, absolutely not. So it's kind of like, okay, well, all these things that you're telling me that I need to do to be successful, um it doesn't really work for me. But then I also think it depends on what successful looks like to you. And I think that's like another thing, is that what people deem as successful. It's like, oh, well, I've, made £1 million in my business, or I've made multi-million pounds
Mhm.
in my business, so therefore I'm successful. But actually somebody could deem themselves as successful for earning £2,000 a month in their business, and that's more than they've ever had before in their life, and that they automatically think, well, I'm successful because this is more than I've ever had before. So I think it really does depend on what you deem as successful compared to somebody else. And if it's not the same, then there's no point following these people advice, because it doesn't work for you. Like, to
Mm.
me, being successful is not being crippled with anxiety and being able to go out, which is like a normal everyday thing for a lot of people, to be able to go out and go to shops or go to a restaurant and stuff like that. But to me, that's like a successful day, whereas that is like a normal day for so many different people, for so many other people. So I think it just depends on your life. And I think is like we talked about earlier about social media, you kind of have to kind of like take it with a pinch of salt. And yes, okay, that's great advice for this person, and I will take like that one thing that I think I could use, but the rest just isn't for me.
Yeah. And I think comparing yourself to others is literally like a waste of time, because not only are we different as individuals, but then we also have had different upbringings. We've lived in different areas. We have different circumstances. So it's just not even possible to even like live the same life as somebody else. People online make it seem really black and white, and they make it
Yeah.
seem like everybody that's 25 and under is living the same life, everybody that's 25 and over is, and it's just not true. Like,
No.
regardless of age, there's so many factors. There's age, there's race, there's location, there's education. Like, you've just it's just a waste of time.
Yeah.
What's that expression? Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you just really have to know what you're working with. One thing that I always talk about in this podcast is like building a community. For me, like having great friendships really helps in terms of like if you need somebody to like get advice from, having like two close friends who are also mothers as well. So having that support system, if I need to
Yeah.
like go out and like go on a play date and stuff like that, that's available. So I really do feel like that is one piece of advice that I feel like could be applied to everybody, which is
Yeah.
like finding a community, whether that is within your friends or in your family. just having that community somewhere so that
Yeah.
you have
Yeah,
people that you
definitely.
can go to, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And even like online, like I have joined so many communities and spoken to so many people online. Like some of the people that I go to for advice more often are people that I've never met in real life. They're just people that I've spoken to online. So even if like you can't get out for whatever reason, there is always like a community online, whether it's for parents or if it's for business owners or it's for mental health or whatever it might be. Even if it's just like a hobby that you have, you can always find like a community of people who get it. And I
Mm,
think that, like you said, like it's just having those people that also get it that makes like a huge difference to how you move forward with your own life. And yes, okay, it's nice to see, what other people are doing, but always know that you've got other people who get it as well. That like, that's not what I'm doing either. So
mm.
that's okay as well.
Mm, mm. Yeah, 100%. And I feel like I definitely agree with what you're saying there about like speaking to people online because I find it can be quite easy to speak to people who you don't know sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I went for a massage recently, last Friday. It was a treat from my mum, so shout out to her. And it was really great because the woman that I'd never met the woman before, really nice lady. And she obviously asked me if I had any stresses going on or whatever, because obviously when you're giving somebody a massage and whatever,
Yeah.
how their muscles feel, it's really related to their lifestyle, whether they work out or not, or whether they are tense or not. Like all of those things are gonna make an impact on their, muscles. And I ended up like just telling her quite a lot about what was going on. And I said to her, like, when it was the end, I was like, "Oh, it's great." I said it felt like a therapy session as well. Because we'd like spoken so much. And it was just great because when I left, I didn't have that fear of like, is she going to tell somebody? Is she gonna,
Yeah.
because it's like when they don't know you, you almost feel like you have less to lose, because it's like even if she did turn around and like tell her partner or something, then
Definitely.
they'd be like, who is this woman? Like, I don't know. So it's like you don't have that fear of like your story getting out there either. You can really just like,
Yeah. I think I think it's like certain professions as well, like hairdressers are the same. Like
mm,
whenever I go to have my hair done and
mm,
then they ask you how things go and you end up just like spilling like the last like few months and you just think,
yeah,
just told you my life story
yeah,
while she
yeah.
cutting my hair. And it's just, yeah, I do think there are like certain professions out there that you tend to sort of like
Mm.
open up to. And I do think it's right, like there is like this less fear of like judgment or like you said, like somebody telling someone else because like they don't know who you are and it
Exactly.
doesn't really matter.
Yeah. I mean, I've been to like two hairdressers recently over the span of like the last couple of years. And the one that I've been going to more recently, her hairdresser shop is like more busy because she has like quite a lot of people coming in. So I don't really tend to like speak to her about like personal stuff. But the
Yeah.
hairdresser before that, it would just be me and her in her little like
Yeah.
salon. And yeah, we used to chat all the time. It's really great. And she always made me feel like comfortable. And she was telling me that everything has to be confidential.
Yeah.
And I goes, oh yeah, okay, I understand that. And then she was telling me that she'd had people sit in her chair and like show her their partners and whatever, and be like, oh, this is my family, or whatever. And she says it would be like the same man from what somebody else has shown her. I know,
Oh
I know, I know.
my God.
And that just
Oh
made me feel like, wow, like, but
that's
like
a lot to take on.
it is. But it's also just goes to show like how professional she is as well, because
Yeah.
had she not been professional, all of those women's stories would go out. And the way how she was talking, it didn't sound like it was just like a one-off thing. This happens all the time.
Oh
So
my God.
I
I don't know
know.
what I would do. Like if I was in that situation where someone's like, "Oh, like, this is my partner," and then like another woman come in and said, "Well, this," and I'm like,
Mm,
"Sure, I've seen that person before."
I know. That is like a proper dilemma, isn't it? Like I wonder how
Yeah,
many people would think, okay, they should know.
yeah,
And how many people would be like,
none of
no, don't say
that.
anything.
Yeah.
So, could you describe a typical work day?
Oof. So a typical work day is obviously it always starts with school run, so it's getting my daughter out the door to school, and then I'm usually back around just after 9ish, and then I will have breakfast because I can't do breakfast first thing in the morning at all. And then it's usually sitting down at my computer, having my breakfast, and checking my emails, social media, that kind of thing. And then it depends on what I have. Like every day is slightly different. So if I have like a website in a day, then my day is literally blocked out for that. So literally from 9 o'clock until about 5 o'clock, I am doing website in a day stuff and working on that, and I don't do anything else.
Mhm.
But if I've got like a bit more variety, then it's kind of I always have to have like a to-do list. So I work my way through my to-do list, I do try to do the things that I don't like to do like done first, but often it's more like, oh, that's like a nice task. I'll do that first and work my way through that. So variety of different things from designing websites, excuse me, editing websites, like even if it's somebody who hasn't had a website designed by me, they need changes made to it. Um, auditing copies. Like yesterday, I was auditing a client's copy, so I'm designing their website for them. They sent over the copy, so I've kind of gone through and made some recommendations. Um, and then sometimes like spending some time on my own business, like working on things and planning things. But more often than not, it's more about client work. And then I do the school run again in the afternoon at around 3 o'clock. And then I'm kind of like in my mode from that point on. So I might be able to like dip into like messages and emails during that time whilst I'm cooking tea or sorting things out with my daughter, doing homework and spending some time with her. Then it's bed. And then it's usually like on my phone, then kind of like messaging people, replying to emails, or like doing like some more work, depending on what projects are on. So it is like it does vary from day to day. Like there's some like the standards of like the school runs and things
Yeah.
like that. That's always there. But my actual work does vary, which I like because having like a variety of different things to do each day always makes my life much more interesting rather than doing like the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I think I'm the same as well. Like, I need a little bit of variety
Yeah,
in my routine. So that's one of the reasons why I really enjoy A, being creative and having an interest in lots of different creative things. B, even having a social life, like messaging different friends,
yeah,
going for brunch during the week, like really breaking things up. And then
yeah,
when it comes time to like having to like get, more work done where it's like you've got no choice but to do it, it doesn't feel so like rigid and
yeah.
because you've given yourself that sort of variety.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like Fridays, we try like we haven't done it in a while, but like me and my husband will sometimes sort of like take a Friday morning or something like that to go and do something together that's obviously not work related. Like we work together on a day-to-day basis, like we're in the same room, like working, but we just try to take some time just to do stuff, even if it's like just go for a walk or something like that. And I think like now the weather is hopefully getting better. Um, I find it easier as well to like go out and say we'll probably do that more often now. But yeah, it's just yeah, like you said, it's just like breaking it up so you don't feel like you're missing out on so much stuff because you're constantly working. So I think balance is like there. You need to try and get a little bit of mixture in.
Yeah, definitely. So, I'm gonna assume, I think I have a reason why, I think I know why you said this, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. Why did you say that you'd like to do more difficult things or things that you find boring first? What is the thought process behind that?
Um, because if I don't do it first, it like just never gets done. I really, um, yeah, there are certain tasks in like business I really don't like doing like account stuff. So if that ever like comes up onto like my to-do list, even like just sending out invoices, as much as like obviously I enjoy getting paid as like a business owner, just the process of invoicing and everything like that, it just I have to try and get that done first, because otherwise it just sits there and it'll go like days and days, and I'm just like, I really need to get that sorted. So I do try to do all the things that I don't like to do, and then I know that I can enjoy all like the rest of the tasks that I need to get done.
Mhm.
Obviously sometimes, there are things that take priority, so that will get done first regardless of whether or not I like it or not. But yeah, I do try to do those things first if I can.
Yeah. Okay. I can see the timer thing going, but it's okay. We'll have enough time this time. Um, do you ever see yourself pivoting and moving into a new career? Because I remember last time you mentioned that you sort of it took you a while to kind of find what you were interested in. So do you feel
Yeah.
like you've found your thing now, or are you open to pivoting again?
I think I am open. I think websites will always like have, will be like my main thing. Like my background is marketing, and I do love like all aspects of digital marketing, and and I think it still plays a part, because websites on their own don't do, they're not the thing that's going to change like your business or your life. Like it has to work in conjunction with everything else. And I do enjoy like looking at other aspects of it. I think for me at the moment, I don't have the capacity to be able to delve into like social media marketing, or like email marketing, or advertising and things like that. But you never know. And I like the consultation side of things as well. So I think if I'm gonna sort of like push something more, rather than just like the designing side of things, which I'm already starting to do, it's more like the consultations and like not necessarily coaching or mentoring as such, but kind of like more supporting in that way rather than actually doing. It's kind of like guiding people. So yeah, but I never say never, like very, but it'll always be marketing. It won't, I don't think, I can't see me doing any other job. I can't ever see me going into an employment job either. It's been too long being self-employed now. So yeah, I think if I do venture, it'll be marketing, but nothing else, no.
How many years have you been self-employed now?
It'll be 10 years in June.
Oh wow, that's a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like you're old enough, but I suppose you would have only been 25 10 years ago.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I was I went into self-employment quite soon after like being
Mhm,
in an employed job. So I left uni, I went into a job, and I was there for, I think, maybe about 18 months, 2 years. And then I went into another job for another year. But I was also I was running my business at the same time as being employed. So I was kind of like doing both,
mhm.
which was hard work. So I suppose full-time self-employed has been 9 years, but actually like running a business has been 10 years this year. So yeah, it's been a while. So I don't think I'm employable anymore. I don't think I could cope with having a boss or anything like that. So yeah.
Yeah. But if anything, you've probably gained more skills though, working for yourself. You now know your own strength, your
Yeah.
weaknesses, so but I can imagine that if spending so long being your own boss, I imagine it to be quite hard to then go back into employed work. So I don't
Yeah.
blame you for that.
No, I think it would have to be something quite drastic to happen for me to ever kind of think I need to go back into employment. And also as well, like my mental health isn't really, there's I'd have to have like a remote job really. Because I like doing something like face to face again, or working in office probably isn't something that I could cope with at the moment. But no, I don't have any plans to ever do that. So yeah, forever my own boss.
Yeah. So what's the goal for the rest of the year? Like where do you hope to see yourself New Year's Eve this year? Where would you hope to be and what would you hope to sort of bring into 2025? I know it sounds like it's quite far away, but
It's really not.
it's really not really. No.
um well, the ultimate dream would be to like see 2025 in like some hot country, but the likelihood of that not happening. I think for my business it's kind of, I suppose like we said before, like really like embracing who I am as a person and celebrating like these 10 years that I have been running my business for, um, and being I suppose like a lot more confident in what it is that I'm offering. And I've seen like lots of things, lots of change in business and online over the years. And I think I have a good understanding of what's needed and
Mhm.
what's not needed and what I can ignore. So I think for me, it's kind of having new services out that I probably didn't like release because it wasn't really like the normal thing to do. And I think I've kind of come to realize that actually I don't need to do like what all like the big coaches say, because it's the same thing over and over again.
Hello, wonderful people. I would just like to give a big thank you for sticking with the podcast and following the podcast. It's amazing. It's overwhelming to know that so many people from so many different parts of the world tune in. And basically, we had some technical difficulties towards the end of this filming, which is why I had to split it into part 1 and part 2. And to be honest, we ended up speaking so much that it only made sense that there was 2 parts, because that way I could give you 2 great episodes from this conversation instead of just trying to cram everything into one go. Katrina was great, and she's a shining example of women who can do it all, women who can raise the children and still run a business from home. So I really hope that you learned and gained from this conversation like how I did. And in terms of future episodes, we have so much in store for this year. So please keep an eye out, subscribe, and follow the podcast to get all the latest updates, because I'm going to be talking about the new habits for 2025, which is crazy to even say. But this year, we are going to smash even more goals and reflect on how this year has gone. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And I will be uploading soon, and I look forward to chilling with you guys and speaking to you guys again soon. So have a beautiful rest of the week, and let me know if you enjoyed this episode.